Well, good evening, Plainfield.
Good evening.
Welcome to this town hall meeting. This is the third such town hall in as many months. We started this series back maybe about 3 months ago with a town hall at the Plainfield High School in the cafeteria. We followed that with another one at the Charles and Anna Booker School. And now we are here. And we're going to be having more town halls across the city. And so I want to welcome each and every one of you. This is about providing you with the information that you need, providing you with answers to questions that you have, and basically giving you an opportunity to let us know what concerns you have. And by letting us know what concerns you have, it gives us an opportunity to address those concerns. And so we are very glad that you are here. We also are streaming this, and so there are folks that will be able to participate, even though they're not present in the room. We intend to address a plethora of issues this evening, and many of these things may be on your mind. We're going to talk about public safety, economic development, recreation, smart cities, workforce development, immigration, which is a topic that is on the minds of so many of our residents, solid waste and sewer. You may have some questions on that. The recently adopted ordinance on first reading that has to do with rent control, basically public safety in general, four-way stop signs, and anything else that is on your minds. The Center of Excellence, nothing is off limits. And we believe we will have the answers to most of the questions that are going to be on your minds. And if we don't, we will get back to you. So this is going to be a free flow of information, a free exchange, and we invite the participation of all of you. And even those that are remote, they might have a question or two that they would want to put there, and we're going to be monitoring that so that we can try to address those as well. So again, welcome to this town hall. This is being hosted in partnership with the councilor for the 1st and 4th Ward, none other than the Honorable Julienne Cherry. Our cabinet members are here to help address your concerns. Councilwoman Cherry is here also to be a voice for the people that she represents. And so without any further ado, I will invite Councilor Cherry to give some opening remarks, and then we will open this up to you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
You guys are awake?
Yes.
All right, welcome to the 4th Ward. Again, my awesome mayor introduced me. I'm Councilwoman Julienne Cherry for the 1st and the 4th Ward. I want to introduce my council colleagues that are here tonight. I see Councilman Charles McCray in the back for the 3rd Ward. Stand up. And I also see my council colleague Terry Briggs-Jones in the back. The 4th Ward, for those that don't know, each ward is governed by 3 council people. In this 4th Ward, the 3 council persons are myself, Steve Gary Hockaday, Esquire, and then also Terry Briggs. So again, if you have any questions about anything happening in the 4th Ward, please feel free to reach out to us. I also see our Assemblywoman Linda Carter that's coming in, which you recognize her. So tonight I just want to thank the mayor and the administration for partnering with me for increasing the communication, especially throughout the city of Plainfield. For those that know, when I ran, one of my platforms was increasing the communication and dispelling a lot of myths. I I think that there are a lot of myths that are happening in the community, and I'm thanking the mayor and administration for having this now third town hall. So please, feel free to have this open, honest dialogue. Again, this is not a political debate. I want to make sure I mention this. There will be other opportunities for that, but tonight it's about really the administration presenting what's happening in the city, how we could be one Plainfield. So we look forward to open communication and about what's happening in our city. So welcome.
And this is more about you talking than us. So we want to hear from you, and this is open to you, our constituents, for you to raise the questions and the concerns that you have, and we will do our effort best to provide answers. And so there aren't going to be any presentation from us. We want to hear from you. Tell us what your concerns are, and we will answer. Actually, I was just reminded that we have some directors here at the table with me. So they will introduce themselves from the left.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Zenobia Fields, the Director of Economic Development.
Good evening, my name is Chef Brown. I direct the Department of Health and Social Services.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jasleen Hunt. I'm the Chief of Staff and Director of Communications and Technology.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is James Abney. I'm your police director.
Good evening, everyone. John Luis, Solid Waste and Sewer Utility Director.
Good evening, everyone. Warren Dabney, Director of the Department of Public Works. How's everyone doing?
So what's on your mind, people? Yes.
So I see that one of my neighbors is here, from Remington and Burdick, and I think Rushmore Park, what's happening in Rushmore Park, and there could be an update about what's happening, and the updates with the aquatic.
So let's take that first to Director Dabney, and then we'll go to our engineering consultant.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, it's an exciting project that we accomplished to the mayor and his vision. The Rushmore project is moving right along. We're looking to have a hopefully ribbon cutting opening in May of this year. And it's going to be a splash park. There's a rendering in the back there of the whole what's going to look like. A splash park, competition-sized pool, lockers, new restrooms, etc. It's going to be like a state-of-the-art project being taken place. It's going to be something good for everyone. I think it'll be one of the best in New Jersey when it's all said and done and finished. So when everyone that render in the back, please look at it, get a chance to see what it's going to look like. And it has a lot of different amenities that's going to be there in the park itself. So it's going to be a win-win. Completion, a completely inclusive playground is going to be there too, major for everyone. So it's a lot going on. That splash park is going to be really exciting for everyone too. So it's going to be a win-win when it's all said and done in the building with all the lockers, everything, concession stand. It's going to be state-of-the-art for everyone.
So maybe our engineer can bring that up front so that people can see the rendering. But this is going to be amazing. And there's nothing like this that has ever been done in the city. And it's an investment in the community. And so this is for the enjoyment of any age. Any age. So we're excited about this, looking forward to cutting the ribbon. Millions of dollars were invested in this project. So we pledge that we will enhance from Ward 1, 2, 3, and 4, all corners of our city. That's what we do.
And it's just Mayor, if you don't mind, just make a compliment. Derek, stand up. The RBE is the one who put us all together so that's what everything happened. Our engineers. Thank you, guys.
And I know there's some other recreation things that are happening. We are investing in Hannah Atkins as well. We are also investing in the Madison Anderson Park, where there will be an outdoor fitness center. So we continue to put capital dollars into all of our recreational facilities for the enjoyment of all of the people of Plainfield. We've invested significant dollars in the Middle Capital Park as well, and we are about to invest more in terms of enhancing that park to make sure that we alleviate the flooding that occurs in that area to increase the capacity of the park to retain the water and carry it out to the Cedar River. And so those are some of the things that are happening in our recreational spaces.
So I have a, go ahead, sis. Oh, okay. So I just have an observation, and it's something that I have observed several times. Our councilwoman's name is Terry Briggs Jones, not just Terry Briggs. And when we announce her, as we should all of our council people, we announce immediately what ward they're from, and then give their name so that people know. I'm also concerned about if this is her, something wrong, Sister Cherry? Okay, so I'm looking, because you know faces speak, and your face is saying a whole lot. I'm just letting you know what I observed. Remember, this is not political, so even though you might not say anything verbally, your face is speaking. And I have noticed that there is a mispronunciation or an exemption of her a lot. Even when we had that thing downtown.
So excuse me.
Wait a minute, there was a, so I just want to make sure that if we're not going to make it political, let's not make it political. I'm talking to Sister Cherry right now, Brother Mayor. We don't want to interrupt the person talking, so I just wanted to get that.
I just want to
What does it
refocus
mean?
this.
Just 1 second, I can't hear you and talk at the same time. So what does it mean by it's not going to be a political debate? Anybody can answer that. Thank you.
This meeting is a town hall meeting for the sole purpose of this meeting is to address issues and concerns. Talk about what is happening in the city of Plainfield. That's why we are here. And we're going to focus this meeting on its original intent, that is to deal with the issues, deal with the concerns that we have in our city. So this is what this meeting is about, and we are starting this or continuing this series in the fourth ward. We're moving to other parts of the city to keep focused on the issues.
Can you tell us what's going on with the two Ys, the YM and the YW?
Our Director of Economic Development will address that. Zenobia View.
Sure, so the YMCA that's located at 512 to 520 Watchung Avenue, that's going to be the center of excellence. So right now, it's a 55,000 square foot building. It's going to be a recreation and enrichment center, so there's going to be a competition pool, a basketball court, an indoor track, an indoor turf field, as well as multi-purpose space that will be available for events and so forth, and then also a number of classrooms. It will also be a LEED certified building. Right now, we are partnering with the developer where the city will maintain ownership of the 55,000 square feet of the recreation center, and then behind it, it will be 100% affordable behind it. So it'll be 250 units of affordable. Then on the bottom part, it's going to be about 6,000 square feet of commercial. Because this is in our Cleveland Arts District, we hope that it's going to be a gallery space, and we're working with artists now. For the YWCA, which is located at the corner of Church Street and Front Street, right now it is owned by a private entity. There's a Muslim school that's there, and we're looking at possible partnership.
So you're saying that for the YM, you're going to retrofit the building for multiple purposes, and behind it, you're gonna build a 250-unit affordable housing complex?
Yes.
Did I understand that?
So the building, right now, we're going for a historic preservation grant, which means that the outside of it will be preserved, and then we will be rehabbing the interior.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Plainfield Cabinet. I'm here in reference to, I received a letter in reference to 1229-53 Crushing Road. They are thinking about building a playground, walking path, and sculpture. That's behind my house. When I bought the house 20 years ago, they told me it's a reservation, I believe, and nothing will be built. I would like to know, will you be speaking with the rest of the people on this block so we know what you're trying to do behind your house? Because I got a lot of questions, and I just want to know who I talk to about something, because some of it's personal, but I want to speak to somebody about that.
So I will begin, but I also ask Director Hughes to step in as well. What used to be the Cushion Road Farm, I think it was called the Peterson Farm, which was acquired by Union County several years ago. And so it sits there, and we thought that it could be put to better use for the community. And we had some preliminary conversations with the county, which we were very happy with those conversations. And, you know, a part of those conversations, we agreed that we will seek the input from the community, especially the people who live in that immediate neighborhood. And so we sent out 1,005 letters to property owners within a half-mile radius of that farm. And although, you know, people from across the city might have IDs, we felt it necessary to have the people in the neighborhood surrounding that farm to be the ones providing us with the input that will help guide what might go there. Right now, we don't know what it will be. The initial idea was that it should be a park, but that was the initial idea. We are not, our minds are not made up. Anything can go there as long as it makes sense for the community and for the neighbors that will be mainly impacted by the use of those 6 acres. And so, Zenobia, do you want to add?
I think
Or
you
Jazz, you know, might want to add something in terms of the process. But
So I think the mayor characterized we're doing outreach right now. So we have a survey that's up. It's going to be up until January 31st, where you can provide input, any of your concerns, whether you want to see just a nature preserve, have it be left like that. We're hearing about Peterson Farm, as the mayor said. We're also hearing things about a playground, possible walking paths. So basically what we're doing right now is just digesting the feedback that we're hearing from the surrounding community. So everyone within that half mile, they'll have an opportunity to voice the type of uses that they're interested
is targeting immigration. Plainfield specifically has a very diverse population, especially of immigrants. Now, the proverbial hornet's nest that's been kicked is the inclusion or the allowance of Border Patrol agents to go into churches, into schools, and to conduct raids on these institutions. Now, just a quick search on the Plainfield Public Library's website shows about 36 churches. We have a few dozen schools here. My question for you is, what proactive measures are you taking? Are you having conversations with these church leaders? Are you having conversations with the leaders of our education system? And one more question is, where is the representation of our law enforcement here as well? Because the big question for me is whether or not the law enforcement will be assisting the Border Patrol agents.
Well, thank you for the question, and law enforcement is present here at this table and in the room. But I can tell you that my personal position is this, and the director will respond as well. I too am an immigrant, and from where I sit, my administration has no intention of participating with ICE on any raids in our schools, in our churches. We don't have a constitutional obligation to do that. Now, when it comes to bad guys that are having a deleterious effect on our community, anyone who breaks the law, violent criminals, should be dealt with to the extent that the law provides. But my administration has no desire, no plans to participate with ICE if ICE decides to have raids across our city. We will not be accompanying ICE going into school, rounding up students and their parents. That should not be allowed in this country. And I believe that a lot of what is being said in the media, what the president has pledged to do, we have to fight back and protect the residents of our community from being targeted. And this administration should not be a part of that. Director.
What the mayor said is basically all of it in a nutshell. We will not allow undocumented persons to be rounded up in the city of Plainfield. That's not going to happen. Okay. We will, but at the same token, we have an obligation to protect people who are coming here, who are trying to achieve the American dream, who are here working hard, raising families, and doing everything they can possible to live in this great country of ours. At the same token, I have an obligation to protect the citizens of this city. There are individuals here in this town who have committed crimes, okay, and that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what race or country or wherever they're from. We will arrest them. That's what we will do. If it turns out that we have someone who we find out was a murderer somewhere in this country, and they happen to be an undocumented person, okay, they will be turned over to ICE. I will not allow those people to be on the streets of this city. That will not happen, okay? We have achieved historic lows in crime in this city, and we want to continue to have that happen. Now, what is the proverbial problem in the room is this. A lot of undocumented persons do not report crimes, unfortunately, okay? So they are being preyed upon by individuals in the Latino community, okay? And we are working very diligently on removing those persons and making sure Plainfield is safe for everybody. Doesn't matter if you're a citizen of this country or if you're an undocumented person. So that is our stance on this issue. If you're here to achieve the American dream, I will do everything in my power, and my police department will do everything in its power to protect you and make sure that you can achieve that. If you are here to commit crimes, harm citizens, destroy property, whatever you're trying to do, you will be dealt with accordingly. I hope that answers your question.
But your question, you mentioned something in the question that you asked. What are we doing? Are we working with churches and so on and so forth to be prepared for this? And we have not done that, but you've given us an idea. We don't have all of the ideas, but I think it's a great idea, and I will charge my team to begin the process of reaching out where we could have a meeting with church leaders so that we can be prepared. Speak to the school district. Those are the kinds of things that we need to do, and this administration will make sure that we do that beginning tomorrow.
I just want to add on to that. My COP unit is an excellent unit at community outreach. We have a lot of the numbers of the pastors in the Latino community on every level and scope. We speak with them often. We will set up this meeting like the mayor said. We will bring everybody to the table so we can discuss it and we can work through these things. That was an excellent idea. Sir, I thank you for that.
I have another follow-up question about the Peterson Farm. I know, Sabah, you mentioned that the survey is going to close on the 31st, possibly. As you know, the survey has been down for a couple of days, almost a week. Two questions. One, when will it be reopened? And two, will you reconsider the close date since it's been closed for a period of time? And another follow-up question is not a question, but a question is, would it be possible to have a broader meeting, an in-depth meeting with the residents to explain what's taking place for us before they complete the survey, just to give them more information instead of basically just having items that you can explain to them, what's behind those items and how it's going to affect the survey.
So, as we mentioned, we will have a charrette, which will give residents an opportunity to participate in the process to put forward their ideas. We don't know right now what will go there. So there's nothing preconceived. And so right now, we have the survey, and I think that you've made a good suggestion given the fact that the survey has been done. There's only like 7, 9 days left in the month. The survey was supposed to be back up. It probably is. The survey went back up yesterday, but we have no problems in extending that deadline a few more days to give more people to respond. And we believe that those 1,005 residents within that half-mile radius, they have every opportunity to provide feedback, ideas, and suggestions. We will take that, we will put it all together, then we will have that charrette that will give members of the community an opportunity to come out in a public setting. And we would be looking to have that at the Charles and Anna Brooker School, since that is closest to the location of that neighborhood. And so that is the meeting that we envision having with the community to get their input beyond the survey, that they will also be having an opportunity to provide suggestions as to what they believe would be the best use.
Just to add to some of your questions, we plan to have the charrette February 10th, the week of February 10th, but that's not going to be the only conversation. As we mentioned in some of the outreach meetings that we had, that's going to be the first where we're just going through our discovery phase. As we move forward and we think about what could go there, possibly with the design phase, there's going to be another opportunity for an information session. Then as we move forward, once we have a decision and all the input, thinking about what we actually want to deploy at the site, there's going to be another information session. So it's not just a one and done, it's going to be an ongoing conversation.
Good evening, everyone. I think the charrette is a great idea. As far as the park at Cushing, it's a county park. Can I ask all my questions at the same time and then sit down and let you disperse them, Mayor? Is that the best way? to do it?
Yes.
Okay, I just have 4 questions. As far as that park, it's a county park. Who pays for the improvements and who maintains it? I'm just curious. I'm very much in favor of it. I live over close to there, not close enough to gotten the notice, but I think it's wonderful that that property is not being developed. The next question is about the YMCA. You said that there's going to be a grant for our historic preservation, blah, blah, blah. I wish, Director, could you elaborate on that? Because that really sounds like good news too, and I'd love for that really to get out into the community that that was being maintained. The next thing is my most important question, why I stood up, was the crossings at Leland and 7th, at Belvedere and 7th, and Belvedere and South. That's, the county was supposed to improve those crossings. The plans were in place. I don't know if anyone here can answer for the county or follow up with me maybe to find out what the status is of updating those pedestrian crossings at those 3 spots. And the last thing was signs. So I'm a member of one of the land use boards in the city, and you have to drive around the city to look at properties, and there's so many street signs missing, identifying the different streets throughout the wards. And is there any plan to reinstall them? I realize many of them might have been stolen and recycled, but you know, is there any way to get those signs back so you know what street you're on? Thank you.
So, you asked 4 questions. Who pays for and who will maintain the Cushion Road / Peterson Farm when it is repurposed to some other use? And it is owned by Union County, and as is the case with all county parks, Union County will pay for the maintenance, the upkeep, the operations. It will continue to be a county park. And the same that happens at Cedarbrook Park, at Greenbrook Park, the portion that is currently owned by the county, and all of the other parks within Union County that are county parks. The county will maintain this just like it does the other parks. As far as the pedestrian crossings on that intersection with the county roadway, 7th Street, we're going to have to follow. I don't know if Director Dabney has any updates on that, but I know that is something that has been requested from the county for quite some time, and we can follow up if the director doesn't have an update. Director Dabney, do you have an update on those intersections, those pedestrian?
The last time I spoke to the county, we're looking to get something done, so they're putting something together. And I'll follow up with them to see exactly what they have and get back to you on that. Let you know exactly what's installed, what's going to be in place there. Get that done.
And while you're at it, can you address the missing street signs? And what can we do? What will we do?
And currently, the weather's getting a little cold now, but we've been doing street signs across the city, looking into that through our signal division. Going right up down each block to look at what needs to be replaced, and we replace them as we go along. I mean, it's cost effective, a lot of cost involved, but we're doing all we can to address a little bit of time in different areas of the city with signs. So we are on top of that. We've been doing that last spring. So we'll continue doing that till we get to where we need to be with everything, with all missing street signs.
And the final question that you asked had to do with the Center of Excellence and the grant that was mentioned. So Director Fields, can you speak more about that?
Sure. To date, we've received a grant from New Jersey Historic Trust. The Historic Trust grant will allow, is it not loud enough? you hear me now? The Historic Trust Grant will allow us to do a preservation plan. So right now, as you know, the entire district that's in the CBD district there, that is a historic landmark. But we're gonna take the building and preserve the outside. So that means that basically what you see in the exterior is going to be maintained, but we're gonna rehab the interior. It also allows us, with having a historic preservation plan, that we'll be able to apply for additional funding from the EDA for the construction. That makes us eligible for up to 40% of the funds for construction. So we're definitely going to maintain the historic structure for the 55,000 square feet. The grants that will be used in the rear for the residential mixed use, that's going to be a combination of Aspire funding, possibly new market tax credits, and we're also looking into other options as well from the New Jersey EDA.
Okay. As I said, we're going to talk about any and everything. I would like our police director to speak about crime. I read something on Facebook where we did mention that there was only one homicide in 2024, which is a good thing. And there were a number of, comments made by people that we're talking about no homicides, but what about the other crimes? And we're hiding something. I want the public to know that we have nothing to hide. We are as transparent as water. And I'm going to ask Director Dabney to, Dabney, Director Abney to speak the good news about what has been happening in terms of crime in our city.
Thank you, sir. Several things. One, the conversation around one homicide or two homicides, no homicides in the city of Plainfield is always a good conversation. But there are a couple of things that I want the public to know, because there's always something being said on Facebook, and it's good to talk about some of these things. One is that a person said that there were Latinos who were killed in the city of Plainfield. The police department has no way of making something that is a crime not a crime. Okay? Just to give them a simple explanation of how things work, crimes are investigated, they are brought to the Union County Prosecutor's Office or to the state AG or to the FBI, depending on the level of the crime. The charges, if there are charges in place, are determined by those individuals, and we go with whatever they tell us. That's number one. Number two is that the Plainfield Police Department, by law, has to report all crimes to the FBI on a yearly basis, so that those stats are lodged with the FBI, and that is something that we have to do. Now, in terms of the databases in regards to crime, they are controlled by the FBI. We just make reports. The police department is under no auspices of saying, well, we won't report this, or this isn't this, or this isn't that. It is what it is. I heard someone say or mention that we're not transparent. Well, we are extremely transparent, and we always will be. That's number one. Number two is that in terms of the crime rate in this city, it's not about the statistics, it's about the work. We are here to do a job, and that is to protect the citizens of the city. Anyone who wants to know anything about the crime rate, they can get those figures from my department at any time. If you don't want to get into our department, we have to turn it over to other individuals. If you feel that you don't trust the police department, you want to get them from other individuals, you can get it from the Union County Prosecutor's Office, you can get it from the state AG, or as I mentioned, you can get yearly reports from the FBI. Okay. The bottom line is that the crime rate in the city is down by a great deal. Okay. But I just want to go back 1 second and address homicides. Now, I have to say this. I'm basically a lifelong resident of the city. I was born and raised here. Our family has been in this town for over 100 years. Okay. When I hear people say things like, oh, well, not because of this, it's because of that. No. It's a collaboration between the department and the community. One does not work without the other. One is not supposed to work without the other. So when people want to say, well, it's because of us, it's not because of them. I can tell you this, if there were 20 homicides in this city last year, best believe you'd be calling for my head. That's just the reality of it. So if it's 0, I'm not trying to take credit for it, but I want you to understand that the men and women of this city, mainly the police department, work very hard to make sure that you are safe and secure in your homes, you're safe and secure going out and about throughout the city. Our collaborations with community leaders and community members, okay, are some of the most important things that we have. We respect all community members, we respect all community leaders. We have a great outreach program. We work very well with our community, and we will continue to work well with the community, whether it's on the Western or the Eastern, whether it's the Latino community, whether it's Sleepy Hollow, wherever it is. We are here to protect and serve everyone, and that's what we're doing. Now let me get to the stats since the mayor brought them up. In the year-over-year stats, in terms of violent crime in the city of Plainfield, this is year-over-year stats from 2023 from 2024. We're down 30%. Now, if you want to look at violent crime in the city of Plainfield, year-over-year, or not year-over-year, from the year before the Honorable Mayor Adrian Mapp took office until last year, Part 1 violent crimes are down 83% in the city. It's not a illusion. These are not numbers that I've made up. Most people will tell you if they go throughout the city that they feel safer in the city. It's a safer city, and that's because of the work of the men and women of the police department and also throughout the community. People work hard to try to make sure that our communities are taken care of. We love our children. We want them to grow up and have the best. We're going to do everything that we can to make sure that these children grow up in a safe and productive environment. That's why I'm here. Now, if you want to look at all of the crime, in a year-over-year look, crime is down 8% year-over-year. Now, in 2023 to 2022, crime was down year-over-year 7%. Now, if you want to look at crime year-over-year before the mayor took office, before the current mayor took office, until this date, crime is down 35%. Now, these numbers are not numbers where some are high, some are low, some are this, some are that. Okay? Violent crime, year-over-year was down 100%. Rapes were down 60%. Robberies were down 38%. Aggravated assaults were down 8%. Nonviolent crime, burglaries were down 17%. Thefts, which is a serious issue in the city because we deal with a lot of individuals leaving cars open, different things of that nature. Preventable crimes is the only thing that is down 1%, and it's still down. Motor vehicle thefts are down 16%, and arsons are down year-over-year 67%. Now, if you want to look at those same numbers from when the mayor took office to now, once again, murder is down 100% because there were none. Rapes were down 54%. Robberies were down 64%. Aggravated assaults were down 24%. Burglaries are down 82%. That's people breaking into people's homes. In the past 11 to 12 years, burglaries in the city of Plainfield are down 82%. That is a direct dealing with the police department. Thefts are down 7%. Motor vehicle thefts are down 41%. Arsons are down 8%. Okay? I am very happy with the work that the police department is doing, but we can't do it, as I said, without the community. Without the support of everyone, it doesn't work. So we're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to keep working hard. But I wanted to bring these numbers to the forefront because, like last year, we report numbers out generally at the mayor's state of the city, unless someone requests them. If they request them, they can get them at any time. But being the way things are this year, there's a lot of talk of no transparency. We're not doing this, or we're not doing that, or we're hiding stats, or we're trying to keep things from the public. That is just not true. And anybody who's saying that to you, for whatever reason they're saying it, I don't know. But the police department is a public entity that you pay for. If you want this information, it is readily available to you anytime you want it. You don't have to take anybody else's word for it. I have to take my word for it. You can go to my department, you can get it from the officers there. That's the reality of it. And like I said, I want to thank the mayor for everything he has done for the police department and help you have a better, safer city. But I want you to understand that this is not a kudos of the department. This is the work of the department with the community and building bridges and creating trust. And we want to continue that, and we don't want to see that eroded through conversations online. Thank you.
So what I just heard the director say is that we are living in a very safe city. That's what I just heard. The city is very safe.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Director Abney. Can you talk more about the neighborhood watch and your plans to roll it out with the council? Because with crime being down, zero homicides, I'm going to first be one to commend you because I think that's amazing that our city is safer. But what is your plan to roll out the neighborhood watch program with our council and throughout all 4 wards?
Okay, we had one neighborhood watch committee meeting at the end of last year. And what that basically is what I was just talking about. Continuing to build bridges in the community. Continuing to bring community members together to make the community safer. The plan is to work with Councilwoman Cherry because she has been instrumental in getting this thing off the ground. But the plan is to work with all of our council people in all 4 wards to bring this program to all 4 wards. It's basically a program of if you see something, say something. Burglaries are not down by accident. People send videos from ring cameras, from different things to the police department. They aid us in the investigation. These community collaborations make the town safer. And we want to keep those relationships solid. So over the next couple of months, we will have neighborhood watch meetings in the 1st and 4th wards, and we will have them in the 2nd and 3rd wards. If there is anybody out there who is a part of the group who wants to meet with any of our COP officers in regards to our neighborhood watch meetings, in regards to becoming a block captain, in regards to us placing signs in your neighborhood, or any other way that you want to help out, please reach out to my department. Or you can always give me a call, and I always do this at every meeting. I'll give you my phone number if you want it. If anybody wants to take it, it's 908-217-0912. Okay, if I don't answer it right away, I'll generally get back to you within an hour unless I'm on vacation. If I'm on vacation, and Johnny Henderson's sitting there in the back, the captain, he will make sure that you get an answer in regards to that call. But it is about, like I said, it's about building relationships and building community partnerships. And one of the best ways to do that is through Neighborhood Watch. It gets everybody involved. We build a web, cameras, and different things across the city so we can bring down hit and runs. We can bring down burglaries to past historic roads. We can bring down thefts from vehicles. It only helps. The more community involvement we have, it helps the department. One of my biggest things was that this will be a community-driven department. We want community involvement. We need it to be successful. So we're going to continue to look for it. Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman.
At this point, I would like to ask Director Fields to talk to us a bit about the plans for North Avenue, as well as the plans for affordable housing. Can you talk to the public about what's going to happen on North Avenue and what's our goal as far as affordable housing is concerned?
I just want to make sure, are we talking about North Avenue on the train station?
North Avenue where the reckoning occurred.
Yeah, to North Avenue, okay. So North Avenue, if you know by Netherwood train station, it's located at 768 900 North Avenue. It is, or was, because it is currently coming down right now. It was a 5-acre warehouse. It has been vacant for well over 30 years. So that building right now is being demolished. It should be demolished within the next 6 weeks. So if you drive by it, you'll notice you don't see part of the building starting on the west end going towards the Netherwood train station. it's fully constructed, it's going to be a warehouse space as well as a recreation complex. The recreation complex is going to have tournament-style sporting industries that are there, so it could include looking at pickleball, basketball courts, tennis courts, as well as a wellness center, and it will have a restaurant. There will also be a parking deck, if you know, across the street where that fenced-in surface lot right now, that will be a parking deck to accommodate that. Then we're talking about affordable housing. So near the Netherwood Station and also on South Avenue, you notice that there's a number of mixed-use market rate housing that have gone up around the Netherwood Station. We also have some that are going up around Plainfield Station. The mayor set a goal last September to have 1,000 affordable units over the next 5 years. I can say right now we're well over halfway to that goal by agreement. We're hoping that very soon, possibly the next council meeting, we will announce and run down the line how we've met that agreement. We are currently meeting that agreement by looking at anywhere from 10% to 100% affordable. We are partnering with developers that are willing to build affordable housing. We have a number of affordable housing that can range anywhere from where we have in the Cleveland Arts District, where we mentioned about the Center of Excellence. We have a number of live workspaces. We have there potentially where we started out with a 88-unit complex that's going up on 7th Street, that started out looking at being 10% affordable. It possibly could go 100% affordable because of the incentives and looking at partnering with people. On some of our parking lots where we're not necessarily looking to give up our parking spaces, but we're selling our air rights, particularly across from Mama Juana's in municipal parking lot 8, which if you're aware, we're behind Frontier Flats. That's going to be 100% affordable for our senior population, meaning 55 and older. We've also looked at recently, and we hope to bring it to council for approval, for the parking lot that's behind McDonald's. That will also be another senior complex. I mentioned also when we were talking about the Center of Excellence, that's another partnership where we're entering into a developer that's 100% affordable there. And that's 250 units. We're also looking at units by where we have the police headquarters, where we want to build a new police headquarters, but also partner with the developer for another partnership for 100% affordable. We have also been looking at the opportunities where we have more housing choices, and the housing choices are not necessarily looking for just apartments, but also looking for townhomes or single-family homes for sale or even two-family homes for sale. We have adopted a small home ownership lot, and what that will allow us to do is that think about what we can do for starter homes, partnering with developers that are looking. We are going to have a down payment assistance program for both the townhomes as well as the small lots that are going to be funded by the city, since we are using our properties for a lot of these projects. We also are partnering with Habitat for Humanity, looking for affordable townhomes for sale. So we're going to have townhomes. We're also looking for single-family homes that are going to be available and two-family homes for sale. And we have various partnerships with developers, with banks, and other entities such as Habitat for Humanity to make sure that we have a diversity of housing stock to meet the affordability goal and balance our housing options.
And I also want to add that only last night, the governing body adopted on first reading what is known as ADUs, accessory dwelling units. In the governor's, I think with his State of the City or budget message last year, he mentioned mentioned accessory dwelling units, encouraging people to do that. And basically what we're talking about here is that you might have a double lot. You might have a lot that's large enough where you might want your mom to live close to you. You might have a child who wants to return to Plainfield, and you have the ability to construct a dwelling unit on your property to house your son or your mom or whoever that person is. And that is what this ordinance allows, accessory dwelling units, where you can construct small homes on your property, creating housing for your family members. And that's very important, especially in these times when housing is such a challenge, not only in Plainfield, but all across the state of New Jersey. And so the governing body and the administration made a giant leap last night in adopting this ordinance with the support of, I believe, at least 5 of the council members, and making it possible for there to be the creation of accessory dwelling units. It's about providing decent housing, making it possible for people to be able to live here in the city of Plainfield. Any questions on anything we just heard?
Mayor, before we go on, can you talk a little bit more about garbage? So I know that as a councilwoman, I field on an average week, maybe about 6 to 10 calls about dumping and garbage. And I know John Louise and his department, Director Louise and his department has been very instrumental in picking up the garbage within 24 to 48 hours. What is the plan to combat the garbage? And I know that when Director Abney was mentioning the neighborhood watch, we talked about if you see something, you say something. There's a lot of dumping happening. What is the plan?
Well, thank you, Councilor. We're looking at it in a couple of different ways. One is we had several events over the summer months last year, which we called it Taking It to the Streets. These were events that were in areas where we seen an increase in illegal dumping. And what we were, our goal was to, again, get the community involved so that we can have, people that would be able to see something, say something. So we made a few contacts, and we actually were able to reduce some of the dumping in some of the areas. We also, we run a transfer station at Rock Ave. So we looked at ways to increase options to the residents so they could bring household goods, because sometimes residents just don't know where to do with the items that they want to dispose of. So what we did was we increased our services at the transfer station. That's 95 Rock Ave for people that don't know where it is. We would love to see you come out. Actually, my office is there. So if you decide to come and pay a visit, please stop and see me. I'd love to have coffee with you and maybe answer any of your concerns. But we have a lot of items that at the transfer station that you could bring for free. Motor oil. We just put a cooking oil option. You can bring your used cooking oil to us. This is free. Clothing, your recyclables, your electronics. This is all absolutely free. We also have a gate rate for Plainfield residents, which is a reduced rate that other people, so if you live out of town and you come to our facility, you will be paying $135 a ton, and you will have a 1-ton minimum. So there's no transaction under $135. As a Plainfield resident, you can bring items and you get paid by the pound. So your transaction can be as little as $5 or based on the weight of your items. And it's $120 a ton. So we put things in place to try to give residents options. We also have a bulk pickup. Anyone that uses our service, you get 2 free pickups up to 1,000 pounds. One of the things when the mayor when the city took it over, the waiting list for a bulk pickup was extremely long, sometimes 2-3 months out. We streamlined that operation. In most cases, you can get a pickup within 2 to 3 weeks. We also look at hardship cases where someone's selling their home call for small items and you want to get picked up at the curb, you can give us a call. So again, we're looking at a bunch of different ways. We are also looking at cameras to tie in with the initiative that Director Hunt is doing along with the police department. And also always working with our public works brothers and sisters. We're out there, we're trying to get it under control. And I see a small increase and then caused by the weather. But again, we're going to crank back up in the spring with some more programs to make it easier to get rid of the items, but also prosecute the people that do not want to do the right thing and call us to do it properly.
We're going to come back because I saw some hands raised when we were talking about accessory dwelling units and affordable housing. So we'll come back and people will have the opportunity to ask questions on that. But let's continue on this illegal dumping. And I know that Director Clinton Hunt is working on a project known as Smart City Broadband across the city, and I think that that would help with this. So why don't you talk to us about that?
Sure, Mayor. Hello again, everyone. So, the Smart City Project, what is it? What we're looking to do and what we've started doing is laying fiber across the city to connect, first of all, our municipal buildings and also our public parks, and at least one other area identified as high-density gathering place, which is the site of our future pedestrian plaza. We've completed phase 1 this year, which is that we've laid fiber to all of those areas that I mentioned previously, all our parks, our municipal buildings, the pedestrian plaza. And what that means is that we're going to have a proprietary network where we'll be able to have our own internet network within the sphere of where the fiber is laid. In this year, 2025, we're going to begin phase 2, and this is where you'll begin to see a difference, because this is when we connect all the components. You will see in all the parks there'll be free Wi-Fi for all our residents. On all our municipal buildings, there'll be free Wi-Fi, and at the pedestrian plaza. And in line with what Director Louise said, you're going to see increased camera coverage all across the city, especially in those areas that have been identified as, areas of where people do nefarious things like dumping when there's no one around to see. You're also going to see increased lighting in the parks and in those areas all across the city and at the municipal buildings. There is a phase 3, which we are pursuing. This is the mayor's vision, and we're actively pursuing grants to be able to bring this to fruition. And phase 3 would mean free Wi-Fi for every single Plainfield resident in their homes. And God forbid we should see another pandemic, but even outside of that, there may be a child who there's no internet at home, they need the internet to do their homework, and what the mayor wants to see is every single home have access to Wi-Fi, whether you have to pay for it or not. So that's phase 3, which we hope will come to fruition very soon. This year we'll see phase 2, and you'll see increased camera coverage and lighting all across the city as a part of phase 2. And that ties in with what Director Louise is talking about with the dumping. We'll be able to monitor those areas directly from the police department and also from the base at City Hall.
And I can assure you that under my watch, there will be free Wi-Fi in every home across the city. That's a commitment, and that will happen. The pedestrian plaza is so important to the city of Plainfield. Many of you have been at the pedestrian plaza for the many activities. It's an area that has been teeming with activities over the last couple of years. And last year in particular, we saw a lot of activities there. We also saw the unveiling of a mural with many faces that you all recognize. And so I'm going to ask Director Fields to touch on that as well as Jazz to talk about the coverage that we will have at the pedestrian plaza as far as the broadband fiber initiative is concerned. So Jazz and then to go.
Okay, so as I mentioned, the pedestrian plaza will have free Wi-Fi. We'll also have camera coverage at all the ingress and egress points. It will be lit up. We will have a built-in sound system for when we have activities there. We'll be able to, it will be a plug-and-play component. We will also be able to power one of the components that's going to be a very visual feature of that area, which is the electronic billboard, which is going to be on the side of the building. We are also looking, so one of the good things about the broadband initiative is that it is very modular. We're going to be able to add components as the city grows and we realize that there's a need to add, another component, we'll be able to add it to the existing infrastructure. So as the pedestrian plaza, we begin to utilize it, we may find that there is another module that we'd like to see added, and we'll be able to do that. I forgot to mention one other thing, which is that we'll be working with the police department to utilize a software which will work with the broadband system, which will give us the ability to identify if there is anyone carrying a weapon, for example, and that will go hand in hand with all the cameras that are going to be deployed across the city, as well as in what will be, our main gathering area downtown, and that's the pedestrian plaza.
Where is the pedestrian plaza, and what is it going to look like? Because I've seen the renderings, and I know some of our residents haven't seen it, but it looks amazing. But where is it?
I'll tell you where it is, and I'll let Director Fields tell you what it's going to look like. So it's right behind the Plainfield train station, and it spans from Watchung Avenue to Park and down Gavitt Place to 2nd.
So why don't you take it from here, Sylvia?
So, as Director Hunt mentioned, it's going to be a pedestrian plaza where it's going to be closed off to vehicular traffic. So right now, right behind the Plainfield train station, the other North Avenue, we're going to close it off, but we're going to have movable bollards. You're also going to see that right now it's an asphalt paving. You're going to see a lot of the historic red pavers that are going to come into line. You're going to see some of the landscaping where you have some planter areas. You're also going to have the trees. A lot of the lighting is going to be improved in that area. You're also going to see a number of information kiosks. Those information kiosks are going to have a dual purpose because they're going to work as a micro forest. That's going to help us with looking at the sustainability and some of the clean air treatment. We're also going to have an opportunity where Director Hunt, with the community events, we're going to have a pavilion that's going to be built. The pavilion is going to be right outside of the train station and going to take on more of the historic look of the train station. The digital billboard at the corner of Gavitt and North Avenue, that's going to be where you saw the mural we had this August, where that was unveiled. We have the full-scale mural that's going to be billboard size. So that means it's going to be 60 feet by 20 feet high for the mural itself. Then we're also going to have a digital information billboard that's going up. That should be up towards the March-April timeframe that's going to be there. This is a part of one of our community benefits where we're going to see starting this spring the construction at the transit park, which if you notice, it's lot 6 that's at the corner of Gavitt Place, and then you see East 2nd Street. That That's going to be 100 units. It's also going to have a Delta's restaurant as a bottom, as well as a rooftop element. A part of that partnership with that developer, we got the cost for the construction of the pedestrian plaza.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. That's for a couple different things you guys mentioned there. To start off with the
Just one
Netherwood
second. One of the things that I forgot to mention, I think that people should identify themselves. So let's start that from this point forward.
All right, my name's Arnaldo. I'm over by Maxon. I believe that's the second ward. How y'all doing? Regarding the Netherwood train station and the inclusion of a recreation center, sounds great. My question becomes, what are we gonna do with the roads? The roads around Netherwood are atrocious. They're bumpy as all hell. With increased traffic, especially with the rise of the apartment buildings all around that area, we're seeing a bunch more traffic, and the roads still are just taking a beating. Following up from there, what defines affordability and what ensures that into the future? I saw earlier today that there was an approval for a rent control council. What powers will they have? Will they have the power to maintain that rent control and maintain affordable prices going forward? You know, are we going to be looking at a time frame of 5 to 10 years for what affordability means? And finally, regarding the Wi-Fi, who's going to have access to that data? Because it means that everyone who has a smartphone, who is connected to the internet, people are going to be seeing what you're going to do. And if anybody knows anything about cybersecurity, exploits are becoming much more prevalent. And as great as it sounds to give that information over to the police to prevent crime, I'm especially afraid that information is going to make its way over to the federal government. And we've kind of seen how the federal government is very hostile to people like us.
I'm going to start with the road that's over by the Netherwood train station. A part of the community benefit for that project was a $500,000 community benefit to improve the roadway along North Avenue between Leland Avenue down to Berkeley Street. Then your question about what defines affordability. We define affordability as anywhere from 30% of the area median income going up to 120% of the area median income. What that means in terms of what it looks like for your monthly rent. So a studio apartment can be as low as $600 a month. And then you can look at 2 bedrooms that could range in anywhere from, I would say 18 to possibly 22. Then, and that's on the higher end. The highest amount when we're talking about of affordability, it is $2,600 for the 3-bedroom, but that is the highest amount looking for workforce housing, that we're looking for someone that might be in the range of our city employees, for example. Anywhere from affordability, we're seeing the range from $600 a month on up to $2,600.
Director Fields, can you talk a little about what is a community benefit? Because I don't know if everyone knows what a community benefit is. Does anybody know what a community benefit is? I don't know. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So this is one of the, when we're looking or negotiating with our developers, and we're looking at what we're developing, our mixed use, whether we're talking about our affordable development, it's a contribution to the community and its improvement in some way. We have a total of 6 categories that you can spend on the community benefit. One can be open space. It can be infrastructure improvements, another category. Another category could be looking at streetscaping. Another category is looking at open space and parks. Then we have fun. We can look at recreation, but we can look at any of those categories. It is at the discretion of the city administration to negotiate the amount and also look at where those funds will be directed.
And as far as rent control is concerned, the governing body adopted for street reading last night, a rent control ordinance. There will be the creation of a new unit or a new division within the Department of,
Community development.
within the Department of Community Development, and there will be a number of things that will be contained, or that are contained within that rent control ordinance, where rent will be capped at 5%. There are exceptions within the ordinance that deal with capital improvements. So if a landlord puts a significant amount of money into a property to improve that property, there's a calculation that will occur by the rent control officer to determine how much in excess of the annual 5% max would be allowed to be added on to the rent of those units that are the beneficiaries of that capital improvement. If there's a property tax increase, let's say there's a reassessment where the taxes on that commercial property increases significantly, that can be factored in as well in terms of the adjustment to that rate. And so this rent control ordinance took several months with a lot of research, and it is intended to keep people in their homes, keep renters in their home. It will take effect 6 months after the second reading, which will be next month, and that means that it will take effect in the month of August, and we believe that this will go a long way in addressing the issues that were brought to our attention because of all of the new construction that we've seen across the city over the last 5 to 7 years. These new buildings have modern amenities. They are great, the living conditions are wonderful, but we have some other buildings in the city that are old, but those landlords realizing that the developers of these new buildings, they can get $2,500 for a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, and if they were getting $1,200 for that 1 or 2 bedroom apartment in a very older building, they have been using that market rent that the new developers are able to get to inflate the rents on their existing tenants, thereby forcing some folks out, and we thought it necessary to address that. So this rent control ordinance will go a long way in keeping tenants in their apartments and helping to address the issue of homelessness, and that is why we have created the Office of Homelessness Prevention at the heart of this rent control ordinance. There is a 19-page document with several different things that are incorporated within it. The newly constructed buildings are exempt, and you might ask why. That wasn't under our control. It is strictly controlled by state statute. That buildings constructed after a certain date and time are exempt from rent control until the mortgage is paid or until the term of the pilot has expired. So those of you who are wondering, are these newly constructed buildings going to be subject to rent control? The answer is no, and that's not a decision that we made. That's a decision that was made by the state of New Jersey, exempting buildings constructed after a certain date. I think after 1987, I think 1987 is the date. So if the mortgage was paid off on those buildings that were constructed subsequent to 1987, they are subject to rent control. If the mortgage was not paid off, or if there's a 30-year pilot, then whichever one comes first would result in those buildings becoming subject to rent control. So, 19 pages, we've created the department. We believe it takes time for the employees in this department to really, get up to speed, for us to do everything that it takes in order to make sure that we have a well-functioning Office of Homelessness Prevention. You asked something also about cybersecurity. Jazz, is there anything you want to speak about on that?
What I will say is that the same level of security that you have with whoever your provider is now, you'll have the same level of security with that network. For example, if you use WhatsApp or Signal, those apps are encrypted. We have no way of accessing whatever information is shared on those apps. Whatever software you use to access, we cannot go into that. You have the same level of protection. However, I should say that the Wi-Fi that will be provided for all our residents is not meant, we want it to be used for productivity. For example, for that student who may not be able to get their homework done, for someone who has to work from home and doesn't have the connectivity. We want to bridge the divide between those who are able to get their own internet and those who are underserved where internet services are concerned. So if the internet that would be provided for all residents, it's not going to be comparable to what Verizon is offering, for example, or Comcast. Everyone will still have the opportunity, if they so desire, to subscribe to Verizon or subscribe to Comcast to get the really high-speed internet that they want. The internet that we provide, that the city will provide, will address your basic needs. You can do your schoolwork, you can do your, work from home if you need to. It's not meant to sit there and stream and do all these other things all day long. But again, whatever service you decide to subscribe to, you still have the same protection as you would if you were using a Verizon or a Comcast. No one's sitting there accessing the information all day. It's just not physically possible. It's not the intent. And the intent is not to share with anyone.
So will only be the city of Plainfield and its officials who have access to that data?
Absolutely.
Will there ever be any reason or any way for the federal government or any other third-party business to get it or buy it from you guys? Will there be any provisions to prevent that?
We would not sell that information. That's the first thing. And secondly, I believe that there are, we're still laying out the rules that would govern this, but there are laws that protect certain transfer of information. And that includes information that is transferred over the internet, by the internet.
And who is securing it? Like, who is making it secure?
We're working with a technology provider who is laying the fiber, setting up the infrastructure. It's also going to be manned, like I said, at the police department as well as at City Hall.
Is that provider's information anywhere that we can access? That we can look into who these people are?
It is public knowledge, yeah. So I can provide that to you.
Please.
Absolutely.
Are there other questions? One and then two. Yeah.
I'll go further well in from the second ward. Just want to thank you very much for your time and your staff. But going back to the Netherwood projects, the housing, I know there's a lot of housing that's being built up around Netherwood and 7th and South Ave. Are there any plans to basically draw businesses or build any type of not stores, but restaurants in that area? Because you're going to have now a flood of more people in the area, and it'll be great if they can have some place where they can go and just relax, use their internet, something like a Starbucks or small little shops like that. Is there any thought of doing stuff like that in that area?
I'm going to let Director Fields attempt to answer that.
So currently we've advertised for a retail recruitment plan. So last year we undertook a market analysis study. So to build on that market analysis study and really to build on the commercial space that's in the bottom of a lot of these mixed-use buildings. For the residential side, pretty much 100% occupied. Now we're focusing on how to make Plainfield even more of a destination with the restaurants and the activities such as the recreation. Our retail recruiter will look at national groups and restaurant groups that will be here, entertainment complexes that could possibly be here, and we're going to work with our special improvement district to really focus on some of our small business entities and how we can make sure that they're aware of the commercial space that is available. Currently going in that commercial space now, we not only have our retail opportunities, but we've been partnering with, for example, the school board, looking at offices there. We've been partnering, looking at with some of our bank institutions to see if they would like to relocate there too.
And did you go up to Las Vegas sometime to look at
Mayors
possibilities?
in don't ask, don't tell territory. But when we went out to Las Vegas, we went out to the International Commercial Conference, commercial, and I forget the S, which is the services conference, where we were looking at, for example, if what we could get for a supermarket. That was one of our concerns. To make sure, I won't say it's a concern, it's an opportunity. So talking with the different groups that have supermarkets to get an idea of, well, what size are they looking for? Is it a smaller supermarket that we're 8,000 square feet? Are we going up to 10,000 square feet? On to the possibility looking at a supermarket that requires as large as 85,000 square feet. We also talked to different retail entities about the groups where I won't say they're looking at a fast food chain, but they're restaurant groups, sit-down restaurants, that they're not just one restaurant, it is a chain, but they have the larger groups for sit-down restaurants. So we're looking at different possibilities, and one of the retail recruiters, actually 3 of the retail recruiters that we met out there responded to our retail recruitment strategies that will be contracting with.
Here. Here.
I appreciate it. So first of all, everything sounded very, very good tonight. Your plans for the future of Florida Plainfield sounded very good. Director Abney, thank you for your report for the police. Director Dabney, thank you. I'm sorry, the gentleman who's in charge of civil, I forgot your name, but I'll learn it. And since it's Zenobia, thank you. Chief of Staff, I'm sorry, I forgot your name too, but Jan Summer, thank you for your reports. That all sounded very, very good, very interesting, and very intriguing. I have a question about 2 groups in the city, 2 of our most vulnerable groups. First is our seniors, and second is our children and families. A lot of the housing that you're talking about, now I'm a senior, so you're telling me you're going to build 100% affordable housing for seniors sounds good to me, right? Because I like the idea of putting my key in the door, closing it, and it's just me. But once upon a time, I had a family, right? I had 4 sons and 5 on weekends. And it was difficult to find housing for a family that size. So if you're concentrated on 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, what about our families in Plainfield? And I don't know how much inventory of low-income housing we have as compared to affordable housing, but I would like to know that difference. Any other, and I've talked about this before, but I want to say it, our senior transportation is not adequate for the population of seniors that we have in the city. If I think about us being comparable to the city where I came from, we have 2 buses. And the bus that we do have does not allow anybody who has a walker or a wheelchair to board that bus. So that population is not being served by our senior transportation. And last, I was just curious as to the number of police officers that we have in the city of Plainfield doing this work. Thank you.
So you can address that, and then we move on to some of the other questions.
Yeah, really quickly, we have a table of organization 136. We currently have 127.
So,
You want to talk about the city bus? Okay. So, thank you for that question. It certainly is something that is important to us, particularly around the senior center. We do have one bus, and we do need a second bus, and it is something that we're working on. We have about 5 proposals of different configurations of buses that we've been looking at, so we are actively working on getting a second bus. It is about, I don't know, $300,000, so of course we will find the money to make sure that happens. And we're excited about finding that bus, but it is taking longer than we thought it would take. So I just want to make sure that I said it too.
and the part of your question that deals with housing for families, there is what is known as the Julienne Gardens. And we've been working very closely with the Plainfield Housing Authority. And the sister of the late Julienne Hollis actually chairs the board of the Plainfield Housing Authority. And the Julienne Hollis Gardens it was built in, I believe, 1952. And the conditions there are deplorable. People need and deserve decent, quality, affordable housing. But the conditions that exist there don't allow people to enjoy that quality, affordable housing. And so the Plainfield Housing Authority, with the support of HUD, conducted a study over the last couple of years, and it was determined that those buildings need to come down and be replaced by decent quality affordable housing. Similar to what was done at Elmwood Gardens, where people now have quality housing.
Is that
And
on Second Street?
East Second, yes, and Plainfield, West Second, and Plainfield Avenue.
Right.
And so the same thing is going to happen at Julienne Hollis Gardens. Those wheels are turning, and a developer was already selected by the Plainfield Housing Authority. And so I can assure you that in the coming months, you're going to see activity there at what is now known as the Julienne Hollis Gardens, where there's going to be total transformation. And people are going to be provided with decent quality affordable housing. And so that is the goal. My administration has worked very closely in collaboration with the Housing Authority. We're going to continue to do that.
Just to add, we're not just focusing on 1 to 2 bedrooms. We're also looking, there's certain funding that we're only eligible for affordable housing if we have 3 bedrooms available. So if you notice that we've amended some of our redevelopment plans to allow for 3 bedrooms, that those are going to be where we're going to put the affordable housing.
Director Fields, can you touch on workforce development?
So we've had a number of general contractors and also people that partner with the Department of Labor for apprenticeship programs, specifically related to construction. So we've had a lot of development in Plainfield, and one of the things that we make sure that we focus on in any of our contracts that we have a local first program. So a local first program is really looking at Plainfield residents so they could be hired to work on these construction sites. Whether we're looking at separate general contractors or individuals. We have a couple of general contractors, specifically Sankofa. They are going to be opening up this winter where they have endorsed apprenticeship program from the New Jersey Department Department of Labor. What that means is that that's contributing to their training, whether we're training for the trades, to be a plumber, electrician, carpenter, or so forth, that they'll come out with certain certifications, and they can also go and work on some of these construction sites. So when we look at what we're doing for going into agreements with these developers, when it comes down to having pre-construction meetings, we're also going to be sitting down with our team that's looking at workforce development to make sure that whether we're looking at regular construction or some of the sustainability aspects of it, that they're trained and qualified to get onto these construction sites.
We're still taking questions.
Hello, good evening. I'm Wyatt, resident, concerned citizen, parent of 3 children in Plainfield Public School District, and president of Plainfield Board of Education. I do have a question, but I first want to note that it is my understanding that the municipal government within the city of Plainfield, Mayor Mapp and his administration, have met with the Plainfield Board of Education administration a number of times, 3 I believe to be exact, one being just yesterday morning to my knowledge. And one other time outside of those 3 meetings where I was actually involved myself and the superintendent with Ms. Fields, where we met at City Hall. But these conversations are centered around the possibility of development and just kind of talking through that and understanding what the options are so that that information can be presented to the full board. However, we had a board meeting yesterday, as we always do on Tuesdays. You guys scheduled your meeting on a Tuesday as a result of not operating on MLK Day. That's understandable. So unfortunately, we were unable to attend after realizing that your agenda had on it resolutions for you guys to approve or potentially approve the expansion of 2 charter schools within our community. And my question really is, what are your plans to meet with the district leadership, administration, and Plainfield Board of Education commissioners to discuss the invaluable input that we have regarding how the approval or potential of approval of this expansion of the charter schools impact Plainfield Public Schools? I personally believe, and I'm not going to stand here and speak on behalf of the full board in my capacity tonight. That's not why I attended. I attended as a resident and a concerned citizen. However, I believe that it's not fair to Plainfield Public Schools and the students and families we serve if that conversation is not had and we don't have a dialogue that where you completely understand how it impacts us. We were able to hear from a representative yesterday about how the development around the city is impacting us and how we will have an influx of students to our district that will impact the increased overcrowdedness that we currently endure and the challenges that we face regarding the overcrowdedness in our schools. We do need to expand ourselves, so it's mind-boggling to me that the conversations are being had with the charter schools, but those same conversations are not being had with Plainfield Public School Administration and Board of Commissioners, your fellow elected officials. And we just had a meeting Tuesday morning, the same morning of the night that we both had meetings, and that wasn't even brought up at that time. So we weren't a part of the conversation, and now I'm asking, is there a plan to include us in that conversation before you finalize those plans? I don't know if you finalized them already. I know you have the votes to finalize whatever you want, but I'm trying to find out if there's going to be a way where we can be included so that we have a seat at the table. I just asked the question. Is there a plan to include the district administration and leadership in the conversations surrounding around the expansion of the charter schools? That was my question, sir. It wasn't for you, though. It's for the administration.
So I'm going to attempt to answer, and then Director Fields can talk about the many conversations that have been had with the Plainfield School District. There are 5 charter schools in Plainfield. I am not aware of the expansion of any charter schools. There are 5. I believe we all know that. There are 5 charter schools in the city of Plainfield that provides for a decent quality provide parents with that choice. They operate at a very high level. They get great results, as was mentioned last night at the council meeting. This particular charter school has a 100% graduation rate, a 100% college acceptance rate. So I think a part of what I just heard is that the Plainfield School District needs space. They have an issue with capacity. The charter schools are filling a need. And I have supported, I have advocated, I have lobbied for resources for this school district. The Charles and Anna Booker School is an example of that. Director Fields has met with Superintendent Hassan. Some of those meetings included the president of the Plainfield Board of Education and their wife. And we have a number of things on the table for the consideration of the Plainfield Public Schools. And so we are not going to include the Plainfield Public Schools in every meeting that we have. The Plainfield Public Schools don't include my administration in their meetings. But that's not how we operate. We have extended an olive branch. We have connected the school district to developers so as to help the school district to get access to space so that it can help meet its needs in terms of space. And we will continue to do that. But if there's any expectation on the part of the Plainfield School District that we will include them in meetings that we have with others, I think they should drop that expectation. Because we have no expectation of being included in meetings that the Plainfield School District is having with others. And so I just want to be very transparent. We have been doing everything we can to connect the Plainfield School District with developers so that they can meet some of their space needs. And we will continue to do that. But we believe that we have to do all that we can to provide for all of the students in Plainfield, whether they're in charter schools or whether they're in public schools. Charter schools are public schools, but the traditional public schools. And Director Fields, I don't know if you want to add anything to the many conversations that we've been having, and it's an ongoing conversation.
Sure. So in addition to the meetings mentioned by the school, is it loud enough? Good? Yes? Okay. So in addition to the meetings mentioned by the school board presidents, we also have meetings where we started by looking at the demographic study where we were looking at the capacity. We've shared a lot of information there. We've also looked at where we can do possible expansion and take going around on a tour of different locations. That not only includes building capacity for new schools or possibly leasing spaces with different developers, but also looking at administrative spaces and making sure that they're available. I believe I know we've met and gone out and looked at some of our recent developers for space for your enrollment office. In terms of continuing the conversation, definitely we welcome it. I know that Dr. Hassan and also the school CFO and business administrator Cameron Cox having several discussions with him as well as the attorney Hope. I'm sorry, I don't remember Hope's last name. Forgive me. Thank you. Meeting with her to talk about different arrangement and possible funding. We are also looking to join the school board in approaching improvement authority, mainly the Union County Improvement Authority, of where we can go there. In terms of future conversations where we invite the entire commission, With the mayor's permission, I would be happy to arrange meetings or continue what we already have on a weekly and bi-weekly basis with the school board and superintendent, as well as his chief financial officer and sometimes the school board attorney, in discussion on building a new school, renting out spaces, introducing future partners, and the possibility of discussions with higher education institution partners such as Kane University. And I believe at one time we were also looking at NJIT and Rutgers. So we welcome continuing the conversation.
And let me add that if President White wants us to have a meeting with the full board, we will gladly do that. And we can advertise public meeting on the Sunshine Law, and we will gladly do that. That can be held on any Saturday morning where all board members will be present, members of my administration will be present, and it could also include the members of the governing body. It can be advertised as is required by the Sunshine Law, but we're not going to play with the Sunshine Law.
Can you explain what you said that you said there's only 5 and no expansion?
Just 1 second.
Okay.
Question over there.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Popper. Thank you for having this forum. I was curious, as I believe it was Mayor Mapp said, what you read on the buzz and on Facebook, you have to take it with a grain of salt. With respect to Grace Church, is it true that what was said that the developer backed out? And if so, what is the status at this point? And secondly, thank you for the conversation around the market analysis for recruiting businesses, but with respect specifically to the apartment building or mixed-use building across from the Netherwood train station that had their ribbon cutting in 2017, 8 years ago, has there been any conversation with the governing body about what's going on there? Because I don't get the feeling that that's 100% full for apartments, and there's never been a business in there. Thank you.
So Michelle, I believe I wanted to start with Grace Church. Is that where we want to start? So with the Grace Church development, the original developer has not backed out. At one time, which in several other developments, at times it goes shopped around on the market, but they actually returned to us recently in discussions to go 100% affordable for the 135 units. Across from the Netherwood Tracy is the tan building that you're seeing that's across from engine number 4. That one, it is true.
Across from the parking lot at the train station, Sumo.
It's J.C. Yeah, J.C. Ento's building, it's the TAM building, yes, I'm sorry. It is true that that commercial space is vacant. The apartments actually are pretty much rented up, but this is a part of the retail recruitment plan that we mentioned. We know that we have vacancy in our commercial spaces, and that needs to be our focus in terms of that.
Hi, I'm Thad Baltimore, local business person in Plainfield. Many of you guys know me, and thank you very much for having this town hall, by the way. I just want to ask a brief question, because I know it's getting late. Is there any movement? I know that Mayor Mapp, when I met with you and members of your esteemed team, administration, and council people, Orange, Jazz, and Zenobia, that you wanted an RFP for expanding the EV charging station infrastructure in Plainfield. And I just wanted to find out, is there any movement on that? Do we have a date in mind? Is there any kind of movement on an RFP for expanding the EVS infrastructure? Thank you.
So thank you, and that you've been very helpful in helping out with the research and some of the best practices with the EV charging station, so we definitely appreciate that. One of the things, and I'll also pass this on to Director Daphne, but we have applied for a clean infrastructure grant, That clean infrastructure grant would allow us to look at charging stations around the city, as well as look at some battery storage backup for that. We do plan to release an RFP with the funding that will be available, so it's still in the back of our mind for that. So we're not only looking for the charging stations at City Hall facilities, but we're also looking at our major destinations where we've had that conversation of creating that hub. So for us right now, I'm hoping that we will get through this spring. I'm also hoping that I'll have funding from a grant opportunity that would make it a little easier for us. And Director Dabney, I know you have some charging stations around the other city facilities.
Yes, we're looking into putting some into Lot 2, estimated at City Hall at one annex. So we're looking also like at the portable type that can be moved, because that's going to be scheduled for development in the future. But we are looking around the city too, various locations where we're placing different business districts. So this will be back to talk more about that.
When do you expect the charging station and new lot on Watchung next to Salvation?
Question, we should look into that late spring, early summer of this year.
Mayor, if I could just mention one thing, because there was a question about a shuttle as well. So one of the grants that we're currently going for, where Director Brown also mentions too, is that we're eligible for funding from New Jersey Transit, specifically for funding related to those with disabilities. So this is something that we can focus on for the seniors. That would allow us for capital purchase for the vehicles. Also, what we're going with our Kane University, they mentioned to make sure that we get to these destinations. We are looking at a possible benefit where we would provide a shuttle service, and that would be an electric vehicle shuttle service. That would be
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Andrew Grimm. 3 quick points. I don't know if there's anything in the pipeline for Plainfield Avenue and Randolph. Very heavily trafficked, especially in rush hours. And also, I noticed we have a new traffic lights going up. And Plainfield Avenue and West 7th is a hotbed for accidents. Can we, especially those making a left turns, if you're making a left turn on Plainfield Avenue, they're trying to beat each other, and it ended up being a lot of times, accidents. Plainfield Avenue and West 7th, Park Avenue and West 7th, and Park Avenue and 2nd Street. I'm sure there are others, but I just happen to notice those. Also, I may be ignorant of this, but is there a fine to address private homeowners for not cleaning up their properties outside? Coming from New York, I know where you can be fined. And a lot of times, especially on Fridays, those flyers that are dropped off, for weeks upon weeks upon weeks, they're left out there, and it looks very, very messy. Also, on that, a lot of private homes, there's a particular home on Spooner and West 7th. The shrubs that are so overgrown that you can't even walk on the sidewalk anymore. At one point, you have to get off and walk on the street. Now, I do walking sometimes now also on Randolph. There's some homes that the shrubs is just, again, overgrown, that you can't walk on the sidewalk. Can we address these issues? Thank you.
So I'll start with the traffic light situation. Plainfield Avenue, Randolph. We've done the research in terms of intersection of Plainfield Plainfield Avenue and West 8th Street, Plainfield Avenue and Randolph Road on one side, Sheridan on the other, and based on the number of accidents that have happened at those intersections, we have spoken to the county, and traffic lights are in the works for those two intersections. As you move on to Randolph Road and Central Avenue, which used to be a flashing light for umpteenth number of years, there were numerous traffic accidents there. We removed the flashing light and replaced the flashing light with four-way stop signs. What I can tell you that we have already ordered, and Director Dabney can probably speak more to this, but there will be a traffic light at Randolph and Central. There's a school right down the street. Cedarbrook School is right down the street. So it's a very heavily trafficked area. So there will be a traffic light there sooner rather than later. Those newspapers that are thrown by people's driveways are a nuisance. And there is a phone number on those bags that if people call the phone numbers, those newspapers are not delivered anymore. Now, that doesn't address the issue that you raised, then there's 10 or 15 of them sitting at a person's driveway. So that is something that we have to take a look at. The shrubs on 7th and Spooner, we're going to have to take a look at that also. Some of the things you raised require the involvement of court enforcement. Court enforcement reports to Director Fields, and we would have to look into some of those things that you raised from a court enforcement point of view. The traffic lights, those are in the works, and I don't remember the other thing that you raised. I hope I touched on most of what you, and if I didn't,
I'll speak to some of your officers afterwards.
okay. Well, thank you. Any other questions?
Good evening. My name is Manya Taylor-Davis. Thank you for having this forum for us. Just a couple of questions. First one is in regards to, I live on Berkeley between East Front and East 2nd. My neighbors had asked about speed bumps a while ago. I believe a study was conducted, and my understanding was that those were going to be completed by the end of 2024, but I believe they must have been delayed, or maybe the study showed a different outcome than I was aware of. So just asking about that, and whether or not we will still get those, or did the study deem that, you know, they weren't necessary and we just weren't informed. And then the next question is more of a suggestion. When you're looking at your development, I think it's called development committee or commercial attractive committee, whatever it is, to have different supermarkets and or restaurants come into the area, are we looking at both restaurants to feed and accommodate our existing population, but then also restaurants and our supermarkets that would make Plainfield that destination city? So beyond our existing population, but that will hopefully draw from other economic, other economies within Union County, where there are cities that would, there are commercial opportunities that would draw people from other neighborhoods, basically, to help boost our income, our Plainfield income.
Just to answer, for the market analysis, what the area that we looked at is our retail trade area, and it really looks at a 45-minute driving distance. So that goes as far as Hudson County down to Monmouth County, looking at the attraction and what types of goods and services we would need from there. In terms of looking at what we're marketing to, we're not only looking at our current demographics, but we're also looking at future demographics and the trends there.
In terms of the speed humps that you talked about, speed humps are coming to a few roadways as soon as the weather gets warmer. Marlboro, Raymond, I believe Berkeley has passed the test in terms of a traffic study. So there are few roadways that will see speed humps once the weather gets warmer. Now Ronaldo mentioned the condition of, and he was specific to the roadway by Netherwood train station. But I must make mention of the fact that we have spent millions and millions of dollars resurfacing roads across our entire city. A lot of the work that we did, those roadways were disturbed for utility purposes by water company and by ESG. And where those utility works have been completed, those utility companies have already resurfaced a number of the roadways, and that will continue again as the weather gets warmer. But we have also, over the years, and I've always pledged that we're going to pave every road in the city, and I think we've made great progress. Front Street, which is a part of Route 28, for an umpteen number of years was never paved, but it's a state roadway. But we were able to secure grants to the tune of about $15 million. And if you travel on Route 28 from the border with Julienne on Front Street up to Plainfield Avenue, you'll see that it has been completely resurfaced. There's another portion that we will be addressing probably next spring, which will continue that from where it left off at Plainfield Avenue, come down Plainfield Avenue to 5th and 4th Street, and continue on to South Avenue. So those infrastructure improvements will continue. We have put a lot of money into resurfacing streets across our entire city. But to the extent that the utility companies are responsible, we're going to make sure that they do what they must do to return those roadways to the conditions before that they found them in. And in many cases, they'll be surfaced from curb to curb or from center line to curb, depending on where the cuts were. So I just want to make mention of the fact that we've invested a lot in infrastructure. We've covered a lot this evening, but I don't want to deny anyone who still has a question the opportunity to ask a question before we close. Are there any questions that you haven't asked or that we haven't answered? Pardon me?
I just need you to clarify something because I want to make sure I heard you correctly.
Hi, it's on the subject of charter schools. So yes, we know that we have 5 charter schools in Plainfield. It is the only town in Union County where charter schools like to call home. I don't know what that means, but that's interesting to me because I did some research of districts that are similarly on the level of Plainfield, and they don't even accept charter schools. So I don't know why Plainfield is the place that charter schools love to call home. But while we have 5, I just want to make sure that what you said about you were not aware of any expansions, because Queen City Academy did go before the zoning board asking
By
to
expansion, I meant there
expand.
are 5 charter schools,
Okay.
and there will not be 6.
So the charter school that presented last night is another expansion, because I think they have a building over on South Avenue or something like that. That's another expansion of what already exists. They're looking to do more and do better. And if they are looking to do more and do better, we really need to make sure that what they're saying in terms of their outcomes are true. Because the data shows that charter schools are really not outperforming our public schools. And the one school that does make the list, the Barack Obama Academy, is the only school that is not asking to expand to actually do more good work. They are actually putting up the numbers as compared, to the one that came last night. And to be honest with you, I'm not really excited about offering a CNA program. Talk to me about offering an LPN, an RN, a physician assistance program, where you're really going to be able to make the money to be able to sustain and live in some of this new construction that we have in the city.
So we're using the word expansion in different ways. That's not what I meant when I talked about expansion. But why are they here? You might know that the graduation rate in the Plainfield Public School is like 65%, something like that. And parents want better. And that's why they're here. It is as simple as that. That's why the charter schools are here.
One reason why
And I'm going to engage in a debate.
No, I'm just saying, as a member of the NDACP, we actually have a position on charter schools because we feel as though charter schools set up an area where black and brown children live, siphoning money already out of the school system that has a 65% graduation rate, as opposed to putting those dollars in the school system that exists to improve the graduation rate and outcomes for our children. So that's why I'm asking for that clarification, because we have had this position since 2002.
But I thank you and I appreciate your point. We have a question there. Microphone, please.
Hi, Lynn Anderson person. I just had a question with regard to the inspection of 3 family properties and up. It is my understanding as a realtor that the cities in the state of New Jersey, the cities are responsible for 1 and 2 family inspections. 3 families and up are handled by the state inspection departments. I know there's been some issues over the last couple of years, and I saw that there was some pending legislation through the state to try to adjust some of the laws to give the cities more power with regard to inspecting those properties. And I just wanted to see if you had any updates from the city's perspective or the state with regard to that. Hope that was clear.
So repeat the question.
So, as it stands right now, if you have a 3-family and up, the state requires you to have your property registered with the state of New Jersey, calling it a green card. And the state will come out and inspect every 5 to 7 years, depending on that particular property. So I know that there was some issues previously with a couple of towns, Plainfield being one of them, with some issues with landlords not holding up what they need to do with respect to the upkeep of their property. And then there was a question of who's responsible for that, the cities or the state. And so I know that the state legislator, there was a pending bill. I'm not sure if anything has moved forward with that, where they were looking to maybe readjust or modify the rules governing how cities can actually enforce the maintenance of those properties or the control. I was just wondering if you have any updates with regard to that.
I am not aware of any change that has occurred at the state. So the state still has a responsibility for those inspections. In the wake of what transpired in Plainfield a year or 2 ago, I know that we created or amended our court enforcement to require the city, for us to take on an unfunded mandate to conduct more inspections of these very buildings that the state is responsible for inspecting. And the plan is to inspect even-numbered buildings and even-numbered years, odd-numbered buildings and odd-numbered years. It requires a significant investment in terms of human resources, but that is our plan to do that. That does not free the state from honoring its obligation to inspect, 3+ units and above. It is still the obligation of the state to do that.
Tuesday at 6:30 at 108 Watchung Avenue. Abel Gomez, he's the executive director. He's trying to get your feedback as to what you think the downtown district should look like. So they are creating a strategic plan. It is on the SID website for you to RSVP. So if you are interested in providing feedback, please RSVP and provide the feedback. I also want to acknowledge some of my council colleagues that came in a little late and also re-acknowledge some of them. We have Councilman Robert Grant for the first ward. We have Councilman Wyatt from the second and third at large. We have Councilman Craig, the third ward. And we have Councilwoman Terry Briggs Jones from the fourth ward. All right, so in closing, I want to thank our mayor and the administration for being very open, honest, and transparent. I know that we're going to have another town hall in the next quarter. How many more town halls do you think that we'll have probably this within the next 6 months?
At least 3 more. First ward, second ward, third ward.
Excellent. So please continue to come out. Let's continue the conversation, the transparent, open conversation. And thank you so much for your time, and see your council colleagues, but also see members from the administration if you have any other questions. Thank you and have a good night.